job posting had seemed too good to be true. Remote work, minimal human interaction, decent pay for someone with no experience required. Alex had sent in the application on a whim, never expecting to hear back. But 3 days later, an email arrived with a contract attached and instructions to report to the Ridgeway Mountain Observatory for orientation. The drive up the mountain took longer than expected. The road narrowed as it climbed, switchback after switchback, until the asphalt gave way to gravel. Pine trees pressed in on both sides, their branches creating a tunnel that blocked out most of the afternoon sun. Alex had passed the last gas station nearly an hour ago, and cell service had died shortly after that. The observatory appeared suddenly as the trees cleared. It stood alone on the summit, a white dome perched on top of a utilitarian concrete building. The structure looked older than Alex had imagined, with rust stains bleeding down from metal fixtures and windows that reflected the sky in strange, distorted ways. A small parking area held only one other vehicle, a battered truck that looked like it hadn't moved in years. Alex parked and grabbed the welcome packet from the passenger seat. The building's entrance was a heavy steel door with a numeric keypad. The code had been included in the email. The lock disengaged with a pneumatic hiss, and the door swung open to reveal a dimly lit corridor. The interior smelled of old coffee and something else, something metallic and stale. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, some flickering in their fixtures. Framed photographs lined the walls, black and white images of the observatory under construction, of scientists posing with equipment, of the night sky captured in long exposures. In some of the older photos, faces had been scratched out, leaving blank spaces where people should have been. A woman emerged from an office at the end of the hall. She was older, maybe 60, with gray hair pulled back in a severe bun. Her eyes were tired, shadowed by dark circles that spoke of too many sleepless nights. "Welcome. You must be Alex. I am Dr. Patricia Harmon. I manage the facility." She did not offer her hand. "Come with me. We have much to discuss before nightfall." She turned and walked back the way she had come, her footsteps echoing on the linoleum floor. Alex hurried to follow, questions already forming, but something about the woman's demeanor suggested that silence was the better choice for now. The office was cluttered with papers, old equipment manuals, and star charts that covered every available surface. A single window looked out toward the western horizon, where the sun was beginning its descent. Dr. Harmon settled behind her desk and gestured for Alex to sit. "You read the contract thoroughly, I assume." Alex nodded, though in truth, the document had been skimmed rather than studied. The pay and start date had been the primary focus. "Good. Then you are aware that this position requires strict adherence to operational protocols." The woman opened a drawer and withdrew a laminated card. "This is your rule list. You will keep it with you at all times during your shift. You will follow every instruction exactly as written. No exceptions. No deviations. Do you understand? Alex took the card. It was surprisingly heavy, as if something denser than plastic had been used in its construction. The text was printed in small, precise letters. Yes, I understand. There are 12 rules. Dr. Harmon's voice was flat, emotionless. Break any of them, and your employment will be terminated immediately. Break certain ones, and termination of employment will be the least of your concerns. The words hung in the air between them. Alex looked down at the card, reading the first rule. Your shift begins at sunset and ends at sunrise. You will arrive 30 minutes before sunset and will not leave until 30 minutes after sunrise. Rule 2. You will remain inside the main building at all times. The observatory dome is locked. You do not have access. You do not need access. Do not attempt to enter the dome. Rule 3. You will monitor the equipment in the control room. Record all readings every hour on the hour. Any anomalies must be noted in the logbook. Do not investigate anomalies. Simply record them. Rule 4. You will hear sounds throughout the night. Footsteps, voices, knocking. These sounds are normal. Do not respond to them. Do not investigate them. Continue your work. Rule 5. If you see movement in your peripheral vision, do not turn to look at it directly. Keep your eyes on your work. It will pass. Rule 6. The windows in the control room face east, south, and west. You may look out these windows. The window facing north is covered. Do not uncover it. Do not look through it. The curtain must remain closed. Rule 7. Between the hours of midnight and 3 in the morning, you may hear scratching on the door to the control room. The door is locked. It will remain locked. Do not unlock it. Do not open it. Whatever is outside will eventually leave. Rule 8. If the power fails, use the flashlight provided. Do not use your phone's light. Do not attempt to restore power. Sit in the dark and wait. Power will return on its own. Rule 9. You will not look at the sky. This is the most important rule. No matter what you hear outside, no matter what you see reflected in the windows, no matter how strong the urge becomes, you will not step outside, and you will not look up at the night sky. This rule cannot be broken. Rule 10. If you see someone else in the building, remain calm. Speak to no one. Make no eye contact. They are not real. They cannot hurt you if you do not acknowledge them. Rule 11. The telephone in the control room will ring exactly once each night at 2:15 in the morning. You will answer it. You will say the following words and nothing else. Observatory monitoring station. No anomalies to report. Then you will hang up immediately. Do not listen to any response. Do not deviate from the script. Rule 12. At the end of your shift, you will leave the building immediately. Do not linger. Do not look back at the observatory. Drive down the mountain without stopping until you reach the main road. Only then are you safe. Alex read through the list twice, then a third time. The rules were bizarre, unsettling in their specificity. What kind of place was this? What were they actually monitoring here? Dr. Harmon was watching with an expression that might have been pity. I know what you are thinking. You are wondering if this is some kind of elaborate joke. You are considering walking away. Her eyes hardened. I will tell you now that this is no joke. This observatory has operated for 70 years. We have employed hundreds of night monitors in that time. Most of them followed the rules. Those people are fine. They completed their contracts and moved on with their lives. Some did not follow the rules. She paused, her gaze drifting to the window. We do not speak of what happened to them. But what is this place really monitoring? What is up there that I cannot look at? The woman's expression became unreadable. There are things in the universe that human beings were not meant to perceive directly. Our eyes, our brains, they are not equipped to process certain phenomena without consequence. This facility was built to study those phenomena through instruments, through filters and lenses that make them safe to observe. But direct observation, unfiltered, unprotected, that is dangerous in ways you cannot begin to understand. The rule exists for your protection. Follow it. She stood, signaling the end of the conversation. Your shift begins in 20 minutes. The control room is on the second floor, third door on the left. Everything you need is there: the logbook, the monitoring equipment, supplies. There is a small kitchen with food and coffee. Use what you need. She moved to the office door, then paused. One more thing. If at any point during the night you feel the urge to quit, to simply walk out and leave, you must resist. If you abandon your post before sunrise, you will not make it off the mountain. The road does not allow it. Do you understand? Alex wanted to ask what that meant, how a road could prevent someone from leaving, but the woman's tone made it clear that no further explanation would be given. I understand. Then go, prepare yourself. And Alex, she looked back one final time. Do not look at the sky. The control room was exactly as described. Banks of old monitoring equipment lined 3 walls, screens displaying readouts that meant nothing to Alex. There were seismographs, atmospheric sensors, radiation detectors, and other instruments whose purpose was unclear. A desk sat in the center with the logbook, a thick leather-bound volume filled with entries dating back decades. A quick flip through showed the same handwriting changing every few months, new monitors replacing old ones. The most recent entry was from the previous night. All readings normal. No anomalies. Routine shift. The handwriting was shaky, some letters trailing off as if the writer's hand had been trembling. 3 windows offered views of the surrounding landscape. To the east, mountains rolled away into shadow. To the south, more forest, an endless carpet of dark green. To the west, the sun was touching the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. And to the north, a window completely covered by a heavy black curtain its edges sealed with what looked like tape. Alex set the rule card on the desk where it would be visible at all times. The first order of business was to familiarize with the equipment. Each instrument had a label, and after some exploration, the monitoring process became clear. Temperature readings, barometric pressure, electromagnetic field measurements, all standard meteorological and geophysical data. Nothing unusual. Nothing that explained the bizarre rules or the doctor's ominous warnings. As the last light faded from the western window, the building settled into quiet. Not silence, exactly. There were sounds. The hum of equipment, the whisper of air through vents, the occasional creak of old wood and metal expanding or contracting. Normal sounds. Building sounds. The first hour passed uneventfully. Alex recorded readings at the top of the hour, noting everything in the logbook with the date and time. The coffee in the small kitchen was instant but strong. The supplies included granola bars, crackers, and bottled water. Not exactly a gourmet spread, but sufficient for a night shift. By the second hour, the isolation was beginning to feel oppressive. The control room was well lit, but beyond the windows was absolute darkness. No lights from nearby towns, no passing cars, nothing but the void of the mountain night. Alex tried to focus on the work, on the routine of checking instruments and recording data, but the silence was broken by the first anomaly. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming from the hallway outside. Alex froze, listening. The steps were heavy, like boots on tile. They came closer, paused outside the control room door, then continued down the hall and faded away. Rule 4. You will hear sounds throughout the night. Footsteps, voices, knocking. These sounds are normal. Do not respond to them. Do not investigate them. Continue your work. Alex's heart was hammering. The sounds were normal. How could phantom footsteps be normal? But the rule was clear. Ignore them. Keep working. With shaking hands, the next set of readings were recorded. Everything remained within expected parameters. At 10:30, there was knocking. 3 sharp raps on the door. Pause, then 3 more. Alex stared at the door, which remained closed, locked from the inside. The knocking came again, more insistent this time. Then a voice, muffled but audible. Hello? Is someone in there? I need help, please. The voice sounded young, frightened. Every instinct screamed to respond, to unlock the door and see who needed assistance. But Rule 4 was explicit. Do not respond. Do not investigate. Please, the voice continued. I am lost. I was hiking and got turned around. I saw the lights. Please let me in. Alex turned away from the door, focusing on the monitoring screens. The voice continued for several more minutes, begging, pleading, growing more desperate. Then it stopped abruptly, cutting off mid-sentence. The silence that followed was somehow worse. By 11, the movement started. Quick flickers in peripheral vision, as if someone was darting past just outside the range of direct sight. Every time Alex turned to look, there was nothing there. Just empty space, shadows, the normal contents of the room. But the movement continued, constant and unnerving. Rule 5. If you see movement in your peripheral vision, do not turn to look at it directly. Keep your eyes on your work. It will pass. It did not pass. It intensified. Shapes moving at the edge of vision, always just out of focus. Alex forced attention back to the instruments, to the logbook, to anything concrete and real. The readings continued to show nothing unusual. Temperature stable, pressure normal, electromagnetic fields within baseline parameters. At midnight exactly, all the movement stopped. The room became perfectly still, the kind of stillness that was itself a presence, a weight pressing down from all sides. Alex checked the time. Midnight, the start of the window mentioned in Rule 7. Between midnight and 3 in the morning, something would come to the door. Minutes ticked by. The silence was absolute now. Even the ambient sounds of the building had ceased. Alex sat at the desk, eyes on the logbook, trying to maintain some semblance of calm. The rule card sat next to the logbook, its text seeming to glow slightly in the fluorescent light. At 12:17, the scratching began. It started soft, almost tentative. A light scraping sound against the door, like fingernails on wood. Then it grew louder, more insistent. Not fingernails, something harder, something that gouged and scraped and dug at the door with mechanical persistence. The door is locked. It will remain locked. Do not unlock it. Do not open it. Whatever is outside will eventually leave. The scratching continued. It formed patterns, almost like it was trying to spell something or draw something. Alex could hear the wood splintering, could imagine deep gouges being carved into the door's surface. The sound went on, rhythmic and horrible. Do not look. Do not acknowledge. Continue the work. Alex recorded the 1 o'clock readings with hands that would barely hold the pen. The scratching had not stopped. It had been going for over 40 minutes now, relentless and hungry. Whatever was making that sound wanted him very badly. At 1:30, a new sound joined the scratching. Breathing. Deep, wet breathing on the other side of the door. And then, worse, sniffing, like something was pressing against the gap at the bottom of the door, trying to catch a scent. Alex moved to the far side of the control room, as far from the door as possible. The rule said it would eventually leave. Eventually. But when? How much more of this could be endured? At 2 o'clock, as the scratching reached a fever pitch, the telephone rang. The sound was so unexpected, so normal, that Alex actually laughed. A short, sharp bark of nervous laughter. The phone, Rule 11. Answer it at 2:15, not 2 o'clock. But it was ringing now, insistent and loud. Rule 11. The telephone in the control room will ring exactly once each night at 2:15 in the morning. You will answer it. This was not 2:15. This was 2 o'clock. 15 minutes early. Alex stared at the phone as it rang a second time. A third, a fourth. The rule said it would ring once. This was ringing continuously. Do not deviate from the rules. Do not make exceptions. Alex let it ring. After the seventh ring, it stopped. The silence that followed felt dangerous, like something had been broken or set in motion. The scratching at the door had stopped as well. Everything was still again. At 2:15 exactly, the phone rang once. A single, clear tone. Alex picked it up immediately, grateful for the familiar script. Observatory monitoring station. No anomalies to report. The line was silent for a moment, then a voice, distant and distorted, as if coming from very far away. You answered the other call. Why did you answer the other call? Alex froze. The rule said to hang up immediately, to not listen to any response. But this was not a response. This was a question, an accusation. You were not supposed to answer. The voice was emotionless, stating fact. Now they know you are listening. Now they know you can hear them. Alex slammed the phone down, heart racing. What had that meant? The phone had not been answered. It had rung and been ignored, exactly as the rules required. But the voice had said otherwise, had claimed the call was answered. Unless the realization crept in slowly, unless not answering was itself a form of answer. The phone ringing early had been a test. By acknowledging it, by listening to it ring, by making the conscious choice not to answer, attention had been given to it. Awareness had been shown. The scratching resumed. But this time it was not alone. There were voices now, multiple voices, all speaking at once in a cacophony of whispers. Alex could not make out words, but the tone was clear. Excitement, anticipation, hunger, keep working, record the readings, follow the routine. At 2:30, the power failed. The lights died instantly, plunging the room into absolute darkness. All the monitoring equipment went silent. The hum that had been a constant background presence was gone, leaving only the scratching and the whispers. Rule 8. If the power fails, use the flashlight provided. Do not use your phone's light. Do not attempt to restore power. Sit in the dark and wait. Power will return on its own. Alex fumbled across the desk, searching for the flashlight. Fingers found it in a drawer, a heavy metal cylinder. The switch clicked, but no light came. The batteries were dead. Do not use your phone's light. But without light, the darkness was complete. The scratching was getting louder. The whispers were forming words now, still unclear, but definitely language, definitely trying to communicate something. Alex stood in the dark, hands gripping the edge of the desk. This was fine. This was covered by the rules. Wait in the dark. Power will return. Just wait. Something touched the back of Alex's neck. The sensation was unmistakable. Fingers cold and wet, brushing against skin. Alex spun around, arms flailing, but hit nothing. The touch came again, this time on the shoulder. then the arm. Then something grabbed a fistful of hair and pulled. Alex stumbled backward, colliding with the desk. The pain in the scalp was real, sharp, and immediate. But there was nothing visible in the darkness. No shape, no presence. Just the cold touch and the pulling, and the feeling of being surrounded by things that could not be seen. The rules had said nothing about this, about being touched, about being grabbed in the dark. What was the protocol? What was the correct response? Do not deviate. Do not panic. The power will return. How long had it been? A minute? 5 minutes? Time was impossible to track in the complete darkness. The scratching had stopped again, but the whispers had grown to normal speaking volume. They were all around now, overlapping and contradicting. A dozen conversations happening simultaneously. She is alone now. Does she know what she has done? The door will not hold much longer. She should look outside. She should see what is waiting. No, do not listen. They are not real. Rule 10. If you see someone else in the building, remain calm. They cannot hurt you if you do not acknowledge them. But the rule said see. These were not being seen. They were only being heard and felt. The touches continued, hands that should not exist exploring and prodding and pulling. Then, mercifully, the lights returned. The fluorescence flickered once, twice, then stabilized. The monitoring equipment hummed back to life. Alex was alone in the control room. There were no figures, no shapes, no entities, just empty space and the familiar equipment. But the door. Alex turned to look at the door and felt the blood drain from face. The door was covered in scratches. Deep gouges had been carved into the wood, forming patterns and symbols that hurt to look at. They twisted and curved in ways that seemed to suggest meaning. Like language from somewhere, that geometry worked differently. In the center, at eye level, something had been carved with particular care, a single word in letters that seemed to writhe and shift when looked at directly. Witness. Do not look at the door. Do not acknowledge what has been done to it. Continue the work. Alex returned to the desk and recorded the 3 o'clock readings, hand shaking so badly that the numbers were barely legible. The equipment showed anomalies now. Temperature had dropped 15 degrees. Electromagnetic fields were spiking irregularly. Barometric pressure was fluctuating in patterns that made no meteorological sense. Record the anomalies. Do not investigate. By 4 o'clock, the worst seemed to have passed. The scratching had not resumed. The voices had faded. The touches had stopped. Alex sat at the desk, exhausted and terrified, watching the minutes crawl by. At 4:30, a figure appeared in the hallway. It was visible through the small window in the door, a silhouette backlit by the hallway lights, human-shaped but wrong in proportion. Too tall, arms too long, head at an angle that necks should not bend. Rule 10. If you see someone else in the building, they are not real. Make no eye contact. They cannot hurt you if you do not acknowledge them. The figure stood motionless for several minutes. Then it raised one of its two long arms and pressed against the window. The hand that pressed against the glass had too many fingers. They splayed out like the legs of a spider, each one bending in too many places. Do not look. Do not acknowledge. Alex turned away, focusing on the monitoring screens. But the figure's reflection was visible in the dark glass of the monitors. It stood there, watching, its hand still pressed against the door window, waiting for eye contact, waiting for acknowledgement. How long would it wait? The rules said they could not hurt you if not acknowledged, but they said nothing about how long they would try. Nothing about whether they would give up or simply stand there forever. At 5 o'clock, the figure was still there. Alex recorded the readings while keeping eyes carefully averted, looking only at the logbook and the instruments. The reflection in the screens showed the figure had not moved. It stood in perfect stillness, a statue of wrongness. At 5:30, with sunrise still an hour away, Alex made a mistake. The reflection shifted. The figure's head turned, looking at something down the hallway. Without thinking, Alex glanced up to see what had caught its attention. Eye contact lasted less than a second. A brief, inadvertent meeting of gazes in the reflection. But it was enough. The figure's mouth opened. It kept opening, the jaw unhinging and dropping far past where it should have stopped, revealing a darkness inside that seemed to extend forever. And from that darkness came a sound. It was not a scream. It was not a voice. It was something that bypassed the ears entirely and manifested directly in the mind. A sensation of pure wrongness, of reality bending and breaking, of being observed by something vast and hostile and utterly alien. Alex reeled backward, hands over ears, even though that did nothing to block the sound. The figure pressed closer to the window, its entire impossible form now visible. It was not wearing clothes. Its skin was not skin. The surface of it moved and shifted, covered in eyes that opened and closed in rhythms that almost formed patterns. The door began to bow inward. The lock was holding, but the wood around it was splintering. The figure was not pushing. It was not applying force. It was simply present, and that presence was enough to warp physical matter. Alex scrambled away, backing into the far corner of the control room. This was it. This was the consequence of breaking the rules. The thing was coming in, and there was nothing that could stop it. But then, from somewhere outside, a sound cut through the nightmare. A bird, a single bird singing its morning song. The figure stopped. Its head turned toward the eastern window, the impossible mouth closed. And then, like smoke dissipating, it faded. One moment it was there, solid and real and terrible. The next, it was gone as if it had never existed. Alex stayed in the corner for several more minutes, shaking violently. The door was intact. The scratches were still there, but the wood was no longer splintering. The room was empty and quiet at 6 o'clock, with with the eastern sky showing the first hints of gray, Alex recorded the final readings of the night. All instruments had returned to normal. Temperature, pressure, electromagnetic fields, all back within expected parameters, as if the past hours had been a dream. The logbook entry was brief. All readings normal. Anomalies noted between midnight and 5 a.m. Routine shift. Routine. The word felt like a lie, but that seemed to be what was expected. Every previous entry in the logbook said the same thing. Routine shift. No matter what had actually happened, the official record was always routine. At 6:30, with full sunrise still minutes away, but the sky definitely lightening, Alex prepared to leave. The rule said to leave immediately, to not linger, to drive down the mountain without stopping. That instruction would be followed exactly. The hallway was empty. The building was quiet. There was no evidence of the night's events, except for the door to the control room, which still bore its covering of scratched symbols. Alex walked quickly, not running, but definitely not dawdling. Eyes straight ahead, the exit door opened easily. Outside, the morning air was cold and clear. The sky to the east was pink and gold, beautiful, normal. Alex turned to the car, fishing for keys. Do not look back at the observatory. But the urge was there, strong and insistent. Just a glance, just to see it in the daylight, to confirm that it was just a building, just concrete and metal and glass. Nothing more. Do not look back. Alex got in the car, started the engine, and began the drive down the mountain. The gravel road wound through the trees, switchback after switchback. The temptation to use the rearview mirror to look back up the mountain was almost overwhelming, but the rule was clear. 20 minutes later, the gravel transitioned back to asphalt. The trees began to thin. Cell service returned with a series of buzzes as messages downloaded, and only then, only after reaching the main road, did Alex finally breathe normally. The first shift was done. Survived. Whatever that place was, whatever it was actually monitoring, the rules had been followed. Mostly, that one moment of eye contact had nearly been disastrous, but the morning had come in time. The question now was whether to return for the second shift. The contract was for 30 nights. 1 down, 29 to go. The pay was deposited automatically, and it was indeed generous. Enough to make a real difference. Enough to justify almost anything. Almost. Alex drove back to the small apartment in the town at the base of the mountain, slept through the day, curtains drawn against the sunlight. And when evening came, when it was time to begin the drive back up the mountain, the decision had been made. The money was too good. And the rules, now that they were understood, could be followed. No more mistakes. No more eye contact with things that should not exist. Just follow the protocol, survive the night, collect the pay. The second night was similar to the first. The footsteps, the knocking, the voices, all familiar now, expected. Alex had prepared better this time. Earplugs to muffle the sounds. Focus on the work. The readings, the logbook, the routine. The scratching came again between midnight and 3. The power failed again around 2:30. The phone rang at 2:15. And this time, the script was delivered perfectly. Observatory monitoring station. No anomalies to report. Hang up. No deviation. The figure in the hallway appeared around 4, but this time Alex knew not to look. Kept eyes down, avoided all reflections, gave it nothing to work with. It stood there for an hour, then faded with the approaching dawn. Night 3 was harder. The phenomena were escalating. The scratching lasted longer. The power was out for almost an hour. 3 figures appeared instead of 1, but the rules held. Follow the protocol. Survive until sunrise. By night 7, Alex had developed a rhythm. The terror had not diminished, but it had become manageable. Expected. This was the job. This was what the pay was for. Monitor the equipment, record the data, survive the things that came in the dark. But on night 8, something changed. The routine was proceeding normally. The sounds, the touches, the figures, all present, all terrifying, all survived by following the rules. But at 1:30 in the morning, a new sound came from outside. From above. Music, faint and distant, but definitely music. A melody that was almost familiar, like something from childhood, but distorted, played on instruments that did not quite produce the right tones. Alex looked up at the ceiling. Instinctively, the sound was coming from the observatory dome, from the locked section that the rules said was off limits. Rule 2. The observatory dome is locked. You do not have access. You do not need access. Do not attempt to enter the dome. But the music continued. It was beautiful in a way that hurt. Harmonies that human voices could not produce. Rhythms that followed mathematical patterns too complex for intuitive understanding. Listening to it felt like standing at the edge of a vast revelation, like the universe was trying to communicate something profound. Do not investigate. Continue the work. The music swelled, filling the building. Alex could feel it now, not just hear it. Vibrations in the floor, in the air, in the bones themselves. The monitoring equipment was going haywire. Every instrument spiking into ranges far beyond their normal parameters. Record the anomalies. Do not investigate. At 2 o'clock, the music stopped abruptly. The sudden silence was shocking. Alex sat at the desk, pen trembling over the logbook. What had that been? What was in the dome? The rest of the night proceeded normally. If anything about this job could be called normal. The phone call came at 2:15. The figures appeared around 4. Dawn broke at 6:30. Time to leave, but as Alex walked down the hallway toward the exit, something was different. The door to the stairwell that led to the dome was open. It had been closed every other night, locked tight. Now it stood open, revealing stairs that led upward into darkness. Do not attempt to enter the dome. Alex walked past without slowing. The exit was 20 feet away. 15. 10. But there was a sound from the stairwell. Footsteps coming down. Something was descending from the dome. Do not investigate. Leave immediately. Alex ran the last few feet and burst through the exit into the pre-dawn darkness. The car was right there, keys in hand, engine starting. Drive away, do not look back. But in the rearview mirror, just for an instant before the building disappeared around a curve, Alex saw something standing in the observatory's doorway. Something tall and dark, and covered in eyes that reflected the sunrise like mirrors. Night 9, night 10, night 15. The job continued. The phenomena continued. Alex was making good money now, enough to start thinking about the future, about what would come after the contract ended, but the escalation was undeniable. Each night brought something new, something worse. The rules were still being followed, but the things on the other side of those rules were getting bolder, testing boundaries, probing for weaknesses. On night 20, the northern window's curtain fell. Alex had not touched it, had never gone near it. But at 1 in the morning, the fabric simply dropped from the rod, pooling on the floor. Rule 6. The window facing north is covered. Do not uncover it. Do not look through it. The curtain must remain closed. But the curtain was now on the floor. The window was exposed. Alex kept eyes averted, looking anywhere but north. But the window was large, and reflections were everywhere. In the monitoring screens, in the glass of the instruments, in the polished surface of the desk. And in those reflections, something was visible through the northern window. Something in the sky, something vast. Do not look at the sky. Rule 9, the most important rule. Alex closed both eyes, worked by touch and memory, recording the readings without looking at the instruments, writing in the logbook without seeing the page, anything to avoid catching even a glimpse of what was visible through that northern window. The temptation was incredible. A pressure building behind the eyes, an ache in the skull. The desire to look was not curiosity anymore. It was compulsion, a force external to conscious will. Look up, see us, witness. The voices were clearer now. Not whispers anymore, but distinct words spoken in unison by 100 throats. We have been calling. We have been waiting. Look up and see. Understand what you have been monitoring. Understand what watches you watching. Do not listen. Do not respond. Do not look. Hours passed in blindness. Alex sat at the desk, eyes shut, hands over ears, waiting for sunrise. The voices continued. The pressure continued. The wrongness in the air grew so thick it was difficult to breathe. And then, finally, a bird sang. Dawn was coming. The voices cut off instantly. The pressure released. Alex opened eyes carefully, looking only at the desk. The curtain was back on the northern window, hanging as if it had never fallen. Had it fallen? Or had that been another test? Another attempt to make the rules break? 2025, 5 nights remaining on the contract. Alex had started counting down, started thinking about never coming back to this place, about taking the money and moving far away, somewhere sunny, somewhere the night did not feel so heavy. But 5 nights. That was still 5 more encounters with whatever haunted this place. 5 more chances to make a fatal mistake. That night, Dr. Harmon was waiting in the parking lot when Alex arrived. She looked older than before. The circles under her eyes were darker. Her skin had a gray quality. She approached the car as Alex parked. "I need to tell you something." Her voice was hoarse, something that was not in the official briefing. Alex rolled down the window. The woman leaned in close. Her breath smelled like copper. "You have done well, better than most. You have followed the rules. But you need to understand what happens after the contract ends." "What do you mean?" "The 30 nights. They are not random. They are a threshold, a transformation. By the 30th night, you will have been exposed to phenomena that change human perception. You will see things that others cannot. You will hear things beyond normal frequencies. This is permanent." She gripped the car door. "Some people can handle it. They go on to work at other facilities like this. They become researchers, specialists in the field. Others cannot handle it. They break. They spend the rest of their lives in institutions, trying to explain to doctors about the things in the sky. Why are you telling me this now? Why not before I started? Because if I had told you before, you would not have started, and we need monitors. We always need monitors." The woman stepped back from the car. 5 more nights. Follow the rules. And when it is over, come find me. We will discuss your options. She turned and walked toward the old truck in the parking area. "Wait, what are you monitoring here? What is really going on?" Dr. Harmon paused, but did not turn around. "We are the watched, pretending to be the watchers. We are the observed, gathering data for something that does not need data, but enjoys the ritual. We are priests performing a service to keep hungry gods distracted." She got into the truck. 5 more nights, Alex. Do not look at the sky. The truck's engine coughed to life, and the vehicle rattled down the mountain road, leaving Alex alone in the parking area. The sun was setting. Time to begin the shift. That night was the worst yet. Everything that could happen did happen. The footsteps and voices were loud enough to shake the walls. The scratching carved all the way through the door in places, leaving holes that showed the hallway beyond. The power failed for 3 hours. Figures filled the hallway. A crowd of impossible shapes pressing against the door. And through it all, the sky called. The compulsion to go outside, to look up, to see what was waiting up there was almost irresistible. Alex spent most of the night curled under the desk, hands over ears, eyes squeezed shut, reciting the rules like a mantra. You will not look at the sky. This is the most important rule. No matter what you hear, no matter what you see reflected, you will not look up. Dawn came eventually. It always did. Alex staggered out to the car, got down the mountain, collapsed into bed. But sleep brought dreams, dreams of vast things hovering at the edge of perception. Dreams of being seen by intelligences so far beyond human that to be noticed by them was to be fundamentally altered. Night 26, 27, 28, each one worse than the last. The phenomena were not even trying to be subtle anymore. They wanted acknowledgement. They wanted witnesses. And they were willing to tear reality apart to get them. On night 29, the phone rang 47 times, not at 2:15, starting at midnight and continuing every few minutes. Each time, the urge to answer was overwhelming. Each time, Alex resisted, followed the rules, answered only the one that came at 2:15 with the correct response. But the voice on the other end was different this time. Not distant, not distorted, clear and close, and speaking with Alex's own voice. Tomorrow is the last night. Tomorrow you will understand. Tomorrow you will see what you have been protecting. What has been protecting you? Tomorrow the rules change. Then the line went dead. Night 30, the final shift. Alex arrived at sunset to find the door to the observatory standing open. Never before had it been unlocked. Always the code was required. But tonight, it simply stood open in invitation. Inside, the hallway lights were off, not dark, but lit by something else. A phosphorescent glow that came from the walls themselves, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. The photographs on the walls had changed. The scratched out faces were back, but they were not the faces of the people who had originally been in the photos. They were Alex's face, in every picture, watching from the past. The control room door was open as well, and beyond it, the northern window's curtain was gone, not fallen, simply absent. The window stood exposed, revealing the night sky to the north. And in that sky was something that should not be possible. It was vast, beyond comprehension. It filled the visible sky from horizon to horizon, yet somehow gave the impression of extending infinitely beyond what could be seen. It was not solid. It was not gaseous. It existed in dimensions that human vision was not equipped to process. So the brain did its best to interpret. The result was a constantly shifting mass of geometries, of colors that had no names, of movements that followed rules of motion unknown to physics, and it was watching, not with eyes. It had no features that corresponded to anything biological, but it was aware of Alex standing in the control room. It knew it was being observed in return, and it was pleased. Alex stood frozen in the doorway. The final rule had been broken. Do not look at the sky, the most important rule. But there was no avoiding it now. The window exposed everything, and now that it had been seen, it could not be unseen. The thing in the sky moved. A portion of it extended downward, phasing through the building's ceiling as if physical matter was merely a suggestion. It filled the control room, filling all available space while somehow leaving room for Alex to exist within it. And then it spoke, not with sound, with concepts that manifested directly in consciousness. 30 NIGHTS, threshold REACHED, transformation complete. You are now capable of perceiving. You are now capable of serving. Do you accept? What would happen if the answer was no? Alex tried to speak, but no sound came out. The thing waited, patient, eternal. Do you accept? There was really only one answer possible. This had been inevitable from the moment the job posting was accepted. The rules had not been about protection. They had been about preparation, about slowly adjusting human perception until it could withstand this moment. Yes, the thing pulsed with what might have been satisfaction. Then it withdrew. Back through the ceiling, back into the sky, back to whatever impossible distance it occupied. The control room returned to normal. The northern window's curtain reappeared. The lights came back to standard fluorescent. Alex stood alone, but not alone. Something had changed. The world looked different now. Layers were visible that had not been before. The air itself had texture, and everywhere, in everything, there were watchers. Small and large, near and far. Reality was crowded with intelligences that humanity moved through every day without knowing until they were taught to see. The phone rang, 2:15 in the morning. Alex answered. Observatory monitoring station. No anomalies to report. Good. Dr. Harmon's voice, clearer than it had ever been. Your contract is complete. Please come to my office before you leave. The door to the office was open. Dr. Harmon sat behind her desk, looking somehow healthier than she had in weeks. She gestured for Alex to sit. You saw it. Her tone was matter of fact. You looked at the sky and survived. Congratulations. Only about 30% of monitors make it through the full contract without breaking completely. What am I supposed to do now? Everything looks wrong. I can see things. You are supposed to choose. The woman pushed a folder across the desk. Option 1. We provide you with medication and therapy. Within 6 months, your perception will return to normal. You will remember your time here as vaguely unpleasant, but nothing more. You will move on with your life. And option 2. Option 2 is that you stay. We have facilities like this one all over the world. Places where the watchers are particularly active. We monitor them. We record data. We maintain the protocols that keep them satisfied and prevent them from pushing further into human space. The work is dangerous. The pay is better than what you have been making, and you will never be free of what you can now see. But you will understand. You will be part of something that has protected humanity for generations. Alex looked at the folder, at the choice, at the future branching in 2 distinct directions. What are they? What are those things in the sky? Dr. Harmon smiled. It was the first time Alex had seen her smile. Older than human civilization, interested in consciousness. They watch us the way we might watch ants building a colony. Curious, entertained, occasionally interventional. We cannot stop them. We cannot fight them. But we can manage the interaction, keep it contained, keep most of humanity blind to it. She leaned forward. So what will it be? Forget, or remember and serve? Outside the window, dawn was breaking. The sky was turning gold and pink, beautiful and normal, and concealing infinite strangeness just beyond the threshold of ordinary perception. Alex opened the folder and began to read.